who are listening. Welcome back to Unscripted Untold.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. What's
Yes,
going
good morning
on?
to our beautiful host, Harriet. How are we today?
We are doing pretty good. We are doing pretty good. How are we doing?
Awesome.
Good.
I can't
Good.
complain.
Good.
So, today is our ninth episode, and we are literally just wrapping up, getting ready to wrap up season two. And I'm like really excited what we can talk about for next season. But
Hmm.
let's dive into episode nine, which is double consciousness then and now. And this is where we'll be talking about W.E.B. Bois, excuse me, the concept of two-ness and how
Hmm.
it still shapes the Black identity. So there's a tension many Black people grow up carrying. This is true, okay? Even if I'll say some. How about that? Even if we don't have language for it,
Hmm.
it's a feeling of knowing who you are while constantly being aware of how you're seen.
Right, and that's tension didn't just start with us. It was named over 100 years ago, but it's still, alive and kicking today.
Yeah. So, okay. So, in this episode, we're about to do the inner divide of what Du Bois called double consciousness and what it looks like to live with then and now.
Let's get it.
Okay. Okay. So, what does this mean? The double consciousness.
Well,
And
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. So it's basically Dr. Du Bois introduced the concept of the souls of black folk, and this is in 1903. And it basically described being Black, being American, and being forced to see oneself through a society that devalues Blackness. And then the two-ness, two identifies constantly negotiating space, and then not a disorder, a social condition created by oppression.
When we talk about double consciousness, Dr. Du Bois, he wasn't saying black people were confused about who they are. Um, it's about,
Exactly.
we're not confused.
Right. He wasn't actually questioning our identity. He was actually naming a burden.
Right.
And he was saying Black people were forced to develop a heightened awareness just to survive.
Yep. And to live as yourself and at the same time monitoring how you're being judged by society as a whole.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, that's holding like two realities at one time. Knowing
Hmm.
who you are internally, while constantly having to consider how the world is reading you, often through distorted lens. And I mean, I can agree that happened probably then, and it's happening now.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's to the point that the awareness has become second nature. We don't even realize that we're actually doing it.
Yeah,
But we are.
yeah, and that's the part people miss.
Right.
It
So
was,
let's get into
yeah. Let's
examples.
talk about that. Let's dive into it. So, double consciousness doesn't really show up like in big moments. It shows up in small everyday decisions people don't even realize they're making.
Right. It's like how we dress, how we speak, how we explain ourselves to others. Is it acceptable?
Mm,
Am I too black or am I, you know what I mean? Are we, because we're always feeling like we're being constantly judged. And that's, when you're having all that going on in your mind, well, if I'm saying things, that's too black, they won't understand,
right,
or am I speaking Ebonics or what?
right.
Or on the flip side, if we're talking about if within our own culture, within our own groups, are we talking too white? Are
Mm,
we, you know what I mean? So it's like you're getting it from both ends. Seems like some of us are.
yeah, and it's a quiet question running in the background. Is this version of me acceptable here? Is it
Mhm.
actually acceptable? Like you just said, like how we speak. Are we speaking to saying verbiage that is too maybe ebonic or
Mhm.
because it's just something like you know I I do want to bring up this up though, just speaking about how we actually talk, right? There's
Mhm.
like two different languages that I maybe even four. And it's, it depends on what situation I'm in. If I'm at
Mhm.
work or if I'm at home. Of course, my language is different from home and
Right.
being at work or, maybe out and about in it just depends, right?
Right.
So
Right. And I think, to extent we all have everybody has that, two different identities.
mm,
Um, but I think it's more prevalent to blacks because we're so, being considered inferior, and we're um, not being valued as who we are as a people.
mhm,
And so it's more, to me it's more prevalent. We act professional at work, but then we're ourselves, and that's everybody, anybody who's in a workplace setting. I'm sure you don't do the things that you do from home at work. But we have to we having a conscious, heightened conscious awareness
yeah.
of how people may perceive us.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And you're not just existing in those spaces, you're assessing them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, okay, do I act this way or do how do I say this? Or it's basically like reading the room
Right.
and then measuring, okay, what risk is this going to, ultimately happen when if I say this or if I act this way. Typically I'm very conscious of that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, depending on the situation where I'm at, how am I going to, and then I need to read the room and find out how am I going to actually react and behave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that could be emotionally exhausting. um it's like you act, at work, and you come home like.
Okay.
And I think we talked about this before. I don't know if it's on this podcast or our other podcast,
Okay.
about being assertive and how they
Mm,
perceive, when we as Black women particularly have challenge, or go to, in our workplace, we have to question certain thing, or go to our, bosses or whatever, and how we express ourselves, then we're going to be deemed, oh, we're a hostile,
yep.
the hostile Black woman, that we're, have an attitude,
Hmm.
or we're non-sociable. You know
Mm.
what I mean? It's always a constant judgment.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. We recently actually did that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's what I was speaking on and teaching on is it's how you say it, and
Right.
because they always perceive, like you said, they already perceive us as having an attitude because we're firm or we're confident in what we're actually saying in that
Right.
moment, and so that
Right.
comes across as attitude-ish or she's aggressive or she's
Mm-hmm.
this or that, and no,
Mm-hmm.
it's this because they have no problem doing it. And I don't mean to sound like like I'm just saying it's one group of people. No,
Right. Right.
but we are looked at that way because
Mm-hmm.
we speak a certain thing or we say a certain thing and it becomes too confident or too bold.
Mm-hmm.
It's looked at a little differently, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's become a consequence in a way. You're always asking yourself, what will this cost me if I show up fully? Like if I really just
Yeah.
say it all, like
Right.
how would this look? So it's become a consequence for our culture
Right.
as a whole, I
Yep.
think.
And again, it's not, it just doesn't come from us. It's been inherited because of what we, our ancestry have been through.
Mm,
So, um,
mm. Yeah. Hmm.
So let's switch gears about the faith and family. Um, how we were taught. Speaking of inheritance, how we were taught, you know, by our parents or grandparents or whatever. Um, we often teach. They often taught us. You have to work twice as hard. You got to give 100 instead of if they're giving 100%, you got to give 110 or whatever. Um, and be careful how you act in public. You can't you can't say this in public, or you can't behave that way and around them or whatever.
And that preparation came across as warnings. It really did.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's really literally you watching everything that you do.
Mhm.
And I think we've gotten, though I'm actually thankful for those
Mhm.
talks. Don't do this, don't do that. You should represent yourself this way.
Mhm.
And I think that was just a standard to put on ourselves so that we wouldn't minimize who we actually were. I don't I couldn't take it as a negative way looking back at it now, because
Mhm.
now it's like, you came out like that, or
Yeah.
you're talking in that manner. You have, like, the things you see on social media. um Nowadays is, you'll see fighting, you'll see arguing, and
Yeah.
you see all the vulgar language between
Mhm.
um you know different people, and it's just like, what happened to that foundation that was set
Mhm.
for us? Where did that go? Where'd it go?
Yeah. I agree. While you were saying, I was just, thinking that it's a whole different generation now. It's like I don't care how I look on I'm gonna say what I gotta say, and who cares how I look or act on social media.
Yeah.
And but the sad thing about it, that one person or that small group of people, that encompasses all. It perceives us that we're all like that. We all behave like that,
Mm,
which is not fair. We're not. I think, and I'm not saying just we're the only ones, but I can only identify our people
right.
because that we feel like we're the only one that are collectively judged
Hmm.
by a few people, people's actions, and
Hmm.
again, that's not fair.
It is that. Um, I also feel like, that foundation, the groundedness, the protectiveness. And I still kind of get those type of conversations. Is the age that I'm at now,
Mm-hmm.
I still get those conversations. Even though I don't do it, it's just the fact that you still want to remain, approachable. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want to seem like too aggressive or anything like that. But I just, what we see now in today's society is, it's a little sad, and like you said, it's not just our culture. You see that across all cultures sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
or some cultures, I should say. I shouldn't just put,
Right.
but specifically, like, how we just present ourselves when we step foot out. I
Mm-hmm.
remember this everybody can relate with this. When you step out of this house, you represent such
Yeah.
and such your last
Right.
name.
Right.
You can't, you don't need to be doing this, that, and the thing.
Right.
Like, a whole conversation
Yep.
um to how you should behave when you walk out the door. That went
Right.
for school, that went for church, that
Mm-hmm.
went for anything outside of that household.
You're right. And now people are, especially the younger, or this generation now. I can say not necessarily young, but you can really say that unconsciously when they step out and act the way they are acting. Um, they're maybe representing what they know, come from at home. So, uh-oh, look like we might have a little bit of glitch here. You guys just hold on. It's okay. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah. And so like we knew that the world could be unforgiving.
mm-hmm,
So our ancestors, our moms, our dads, our grandmothers, aunties, uncles, they taught us how to move, how to speak, how to carry ourselves
mm-hmm.
out in the world. And I can't say that for everybody, but I know
Right,
it was
right,
for you, me, and that's what I taught. That's what we taught our children. Like, I should not hear anybody come and tell me that you were showing your butt.
right. Oh,
I should hear
absolutely.
that. You should be respectable. And I only had to tell them that once.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to keep repeating myself
Right,
when it came
right,
to that. It was just it's clear cut. Like, don't act like that.
right, right. I'm laughing to myself as you're saying it because the population in my full time job, the populations that have to deal with,
Ooh.
I don't think
Ooh.
there's no prep talk prior to
Oh,
there's no there isn't
mm,
just based on the behaviors that I have to encounter. Um, there's obviously no um, prep talk or anything like that by
no.
parents or anything, or anyone from the household, from their household.
It seems that way. It really does.
Yeah.
I've learned as well. Like, well, firstly, we have free will. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think too, it deals with associations too. Like, if you're around somebody, bad manners corrupt good manners.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that could be some of it too, and they're not listening to that parent, that grandmother, that fathers in the home.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you should act, and then some of them are just in rebellion.
Right.
And you see a lot of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
it's like, even when I'm out and you hear like these younger young men like cussing and walking through
Yeah.
the stores cussing, or
Yep.
their pants half down, I was like,
Yep.
no, I'm getting old.
Right. Yeah.
That is like bothering me. Like, I
Yeah.
don't, you're calling, you saying be this or H this, and it's like, that's disrespectful to me. I'm walking
Right.
past and I'm
Yeah.
hearing this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
there's other words in the English dictionary
Yeah.
used to reference a female.
Right.
But like you said, like we're talking today, it goes back to that primary foundation. This is how you need to act. This is how you
Mm-hmm.
need to, because that can be perceived incorrectly to, maybe something could occur like in a store, or depending on where you are, and you're acting like that in the store, and then something takes place and the police get involved, and they're like, well, these people's walking around acting like this, and then
Right.
it tags you.
Right. They already have that, yeah,
Yeah.
preconceived notion, and then it doesn't help that some of these young people are just exacerbating the problem by act behaving that way.
Yeah.
So there are already going to be issues, whether it's justified or not. I don't know. It's just I don't know. You would think by now, based on from generation to generation, we kind of understand and how to move ourselves accordingly. It
Mm,
seems like it's now we're just like regressing back. I mean, it's like or really, it, I can't even say regressing. I'm just saying it's just
a cycle.
getting, yeah, it's just getting worse. It's just
And it's like trying to break it, and It's some people just they're comfortable in that type of skin. They're comfortable in that type of consciousness. And
Yeah.
personally, I can't. It's basically from what I really gathered from this Du Bois was we have to. I'm trying to put this in the right wording. We whatever we speak, whatever we do, however we act,
Mm-hmm.
shapes our world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not speaking new age. I'm speaking life and death is in the power of tongue. If we are
Mm-hmm.
continually saying things, doing things that are not in alignment with what who we are, the integrity, the dignity,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to what we do is going to be the opposite of what we want to have.
Right.
Um, I just, for me, I'm like, I don't want that kind of life. So
Right.
my train of thought in my consciousness is like, oh, I think just continually walking in those type of the foundation that we were given, walking in positivity, walking in the things of God, or what
Mm-hmm.
we should be doing
Mm-hmm.
shapes my how I think conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no complaints, praise God. So
Right. Yeah.
um
So how do we, I mean, how do we move forward? Um, I guess, I mean, like you said, everybody has free will. So you either have a choice either to, if obviously if you're in a position and you keep doing the same thing and getting the same results, then maybe you should try to change your mindset, you know. Um,
big time.
but then at the same time, you got to kind of care about your own self. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
a balance.
Um,
A balance.
right.
Yeah.
You know, being loud and being, judged, we're already, stereotype and everything, and you're feeding into that stereotype, you
Mm.
know, you're not going to get a different result. You're not going to get a good outcome at all. Um,
And I think that's something we talked about on Harriet's podcast when we were talking about in being in the workplace, right? And how we can use our voice in an intelligent way,
mm-hmm,
um, without it becoming aggressive. Um, I have a scenario where I've had leaders, come sideways, and it's like you
yeah,
gotta take that pause and be like,
yeah,
okay, okay. But the way I respond or responded at that particular moment was unexpected. Like, oh, well, I thought, you know,
mm-hmm,
the perception is I'm going to act aggressive. I'm going to
mm-hmm,
act like the typical black woman
mm-hmm,
with an attitude, and I'm going to just be boisterous and all of this. And the way I responded was it was a shock to them in a way.
mm-hmm,
And I'm like, that's sad. In a way, it's really sad
right.
because it's not me trying to keep my job. It's not me trying to be a suck up or anything of
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Whatever
right,
word you want to put to it.
right,
It was about my integrity. It was about my
mm-hmm,
dignity. I was like, if I go and show my behalf, cussing and doing all this other stuff, what they want me to do, right?
mm-hmm,
Later on, I'm gonna be like so convicted. Like
mm-hmm,
I'm gonna be like, dang, I shouldn't act like that
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
because they could put that into my, that can eventually catch up to me later on
right,
when it comes to a promotion, when it comes to making, oh, we want to give you, we want to up your salary. That
mm-hmm,
plays a big part.
Yeah, it does.
everything. So
It
you have
does.
to like think ahead. I would say that you would want to think ahead.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way that we can possibly change how we can eliminate some of the things, like we were saying, that foundation wasn't there, but this is how we could eliminate some of it by just
Mm-hmm.
thinking ahead. Like, if I act this way, or if I do this way, or if I say this, what's the later outcome of that?
Right. Right. Now I'm gonna throw in a challenge. What if your supervisors? Let's talk about black on black within the
Okay.
workplace.
Okay.
Do
Got
we
it.
act a certain way on our black, uh, who are supervisors or in management, as opposed to white counterparts, or
Hmm.
do we kind of feel like a little laxed and kind of talk to our uh, counter our black supervisor or management as we would like outside the workplace?
Mm-mm. Don't do it. Don't even, just don't even do it. I would say this. I had both. I had one
Mm-hmm.
where she was just straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Business is business, nothing personal. Then I had
Mm-hmm.
one that was actually, relaxed and cool. And because of the one I had prior to her, I didn't know how to act with her. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what do I do with that?
Mm-hmm.
So um,
Mm-hmm.
I treat them all the same, all
Mm-hmm.
of them. I don't care their race. I don't care. It's business. I'm here to
Right.
do this, and that's it. Because what I'm only going to speak from my personal experience. I have ran into where I've had a black manager, male or female, don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And you thinking they cool, and you like, what up, talking like nah, and they will turn on you.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely.
the money talking louder than your friendship. Your
Absolutely.
skin tone, that don't matter. That's why I said no. They don't
Absolutely.
treat
Because I mean, believe it or not, they're walking a fine line because they're trying to prove, okay, I'm gonna prove that I'm not, down with,
Yeah.
my, fellow, my subordinates or my team, that I'm not, because you got to prove to them that yes, I'm in management.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do any kind of favoritism or
Hmm.
anything just because of we're both, uh, because of our skin color like that. Um,
But when you think about it, like in business, I'm the same way.
yeah,
I
yeah,
own a business, so I'm not going to be. I My ultimate goal is to make sure that business is running successfully. It has
mm-hmm,
what it needs. The
mm-hmm,
customer is getting what they need, and they're
mm-hmm,
being taken care of as the best way they can be.
mm-hmm,
Um, I don't play that either. So like,
yeah,
I'm not going to sit there and be like, I don't be so lax, because some people will take that and run
mm-hmm,
with it and be like, oh, well, they're comfortable with this, or I could treat the clients this way. So
yeah,
you have to kind of look at it that way, like in a business. That's why I said, I think in that podcast, I said, look at your job as a business. Or I might have said it, look at it as a business. You're
right,
serving a client. And
right,
so that manager, that supervisor, whoever, you're thinking how they're thinking. They like, I gotta get this done
mm-hmm,
by any means necessary. Do I need to be professional? Absolutely.
mm-hmm,
But am I going to play around? No, because
mm-hmm,
my job is on the line, or my integrity, my whatever is on the line, and I don't have time to play favoritism. I don't have time to
right,
play these games. So this is what you're going to get,
right,
like it or not. So
right,
I think that's why I kind of stay out of the way when it comes to, certain things with leadership because I was like, well, I would probably act the same way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, if you're not coming up to the plate about something, then and they feel like, okay, I'm gonna give you a chance, but if you're not doing this, then see ya. So I
Mm-hmm.
get it, And if you treat it as such, then you have a better understanding of as to how you need, and it takes the personal aspect out of the job itself.
Right. Right.
Just business.
Yeah, you have to. Um, because your all eyes are on them as a in management, and all eyes are on you as a employee, part of,
Yeah.
or or staff or whatever. So
Hmm. If we get you
it,
on that, we
it
straight.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
straight. Like, and that's how I think, because of how our culture is, like we were saying earlier, like we're tiptoeing, and it's become a consequence because we have to act a certain way. But if
Mm-hmm.
you take out the personal and remain business the
Mm-hmm.
entire time
Yeah.
you're employed, I'm telling you, you gonna have haters. Yeah, you gonna have that.
Oh yeah.
That's just a given.
Yeah.
You're gonna have we were already told that we're gonna have those type of people.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll be able to recognize it because you're aware, and you didn't come in trying to make friends, or you didn't come in
Right.
trying to no, this me, this who you gonna get.
Right.
I've kept the same face for 6 years.
Yeah.
I've not
Yeah.
changed.
Right. I agree. And then, like you said, I think that's the main thing. That's how I am too. I haven't don't come into a situation, especially at work, to make friends. Especially now. I'm just thinking, no, mm-mm. I'm to the point, just leave me alone. Let me do my job. I'm not going to be part of the clique. I'm not,
Politics.
I want to maintain professionalism. Let's just get the job done. And then when we go home, you know, we'll part ways until we see each other the next day. And, but as far as all this, brown nosing and, being a part of the clique and just be part of the drama, mm-mm.
And that's one thing my mother would always say to me, any job I had, like, and that's what we were just talking about. They give you that foundation. It's like they're giving you the warning ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
She would tell me, she's like, "Do your job, go home." Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. You ain't said number the word, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's my exact approach every single time. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't. They can't say I'm mean. They can't say I'm
Right.
sassy.
Right.
I'm just straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like that from day one.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing? Okay, well, and then it's boundaries
Yeah.
too, for me. But I think ultimately the consciousness of everything, it's wow, the way the voice had really, the term of the
The
two-ness,
tunis. Mm-hmm.
like, man,
It's like having a split personality, basically.
yeah, that's a lot of work too.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to keep the same level playing in every aspect. Like, my friends get it, the job get it, home get it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't change that. Because it's exhausting to put on a facade of
Mm-hmm.
personalities, and it's just exhausting.
It is. It's exhausting, and I can even go one further as the two-ness. It could be a three-ness because we're black. We're uh, a woman. We're women, and I just lost my. Sorry. Our identity. You gotta walk that line of identity. It's being a black person, it's being a woman,
Mhm,
and how we act in the work in the workplace.
mhm. That's a,
It is a lot, and it's mentally draining.
and then you get the question of do I belong, or more of how do I live whole
Mm-hmm.
without constantly dividing myself.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. That's why. That's not. It's not easy to be in that space. Um, but I think in a way we've come accustomed to it. Some of us
Mm-hmm.
accustomed to it because that's maybe that's just how we were taught, and that's
Yeah, it is.
as they say, cut from a different cloth.
Yeah. 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 So to wrap it up,
Mhm.
um, I guess how do you how we can we move forward? I mean, do we still continue to, be that two-ness or that three-ness? Um, is society even going to change their perception of how we are? Or
I don't see it because I don't really see it. Society changing. I mean, we see it now. Um, you feel. I was just thinking about something the other day. Before, just not, it's not really off topic, but it kind of is. But it's something I noticed. Is I'm not talking about just ultimately just looks, but
mm-hmm,
I'm seeing like us as a culture are beautiful people.
mm-hmm,
We all have different talents and all of that. But we've gotten so divided in just this society, we can't even clap for each other sometimes.
mm-mm,
It's a jealousy, or it's a competition, or it's
right,
covetousness, or it's insecureness, whatever the case may be.
mm-hmm,
And it's like, and I was thinking about that, and I was just like, I had came across this young lady. I was just like, I'm now see, I'm like, oh my God, yes, yes, yes. I'm like one of those people.
mm-hmm.
And it may come off like, who this girl? But I'm like that. I like to clap for people,
Me too.
because it's it's a beautiful thing to see other people winning. Like, I don't care who it is.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be my family, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And they made it where we go against each other. We butt heads with each other when we should be collabing with each other. I don't know. Maybe it was just something I was like overthinking one day that I just happened to see. And the way society is today, they play like from jump. It seemed like they played our culture against each other. We
That's
the only
that
culture.
was the
It's like,
design. It was done
yeah,
by design. Yeah.
we the
You
only
know,
culture.
that's what I talked about before, the crab in a bucket mentality. You know, it was designed, this system, the system has was designed to pit one against the other. Because, and I think I mentioned this before, just think if all of us collectively were in sync, in unison, how
Mm,
powerful
mm,
we would be.
mm.
And that's their worst fear, is us coming together collectively
No,
as a unit.
I
So
so
what do? They keep manipulating and, putting us one against the other. And we fall for it because, and I keep listening to a lot of uh on YouTube,
mhm.
people talk about this because we are an emotional people. We react in on emotions. That's why we swing this way or swing that way, whatever, because we're reacting on emotions. Um, and right, and that again, this is why we're in a lot of us. We are in the state that we're in because we aren't, pulling together
Mhm.
and collectively as a unit.
Yeah. It's I would love one day, I said, I would love to see us just come out of a lot of the things that have been embedded in us over
Mhm.
the years, over the decades.
Mhm.
Just be who you called to be.
Mhm.
Um, but until we get out of, some of us get out of that mindset, it's not, it's something that we haven't seen just yet. And we so busy, some of us are so busy, and I'm gonna call it out because it's unscripted, untold. Some of us are so like obsessed with worldly things,
Yeah.
shoes and all of this other stuff. Like,
Yeah.
who cares?
Right.
If you look at a wealthy person, I'm not saying rich because wealthy are two rich and wealthy are two different.
Mhm.
If you
Mhm.
look at a wealthy person, you would know they were.
Yeah.
You
Right.
would know they were.
And that, you know, that's the difference. And I have to say it because it's like you said, it's unscripted, untold. There's a difference when, you know, a lot of white people, if you can tell that they're well to do or whatever, they don't show it. They still, you know, um, they just don't, they don't show it.
Right.
We gotta have the bling bling, you know, we gotta show it all. Let us, you know, I say perpetrate, but
Ooh.
a lot, you know, because a lot of, you know, come on, you want to try to keep up or outdo, you know, somebody else, and then you know, we got to have the the Range Rovers, which is nothing wrong with that. I mean, we got to be more boisterous and actually wear our wealth or well-to-do-ness on, you know, out on the outside.
I believe that the Bible gives us that, what we should do.
Mm-hmm.
Generationally, we should be set, if we come into wealth, what should we be doing with that? Because that's that, I think we talked about that in the first season about how we are when it comes to money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what we should be doing with that, how we should invest it in not being afraid of investing,
Mm-hmm.
not being afraid to do a life insurance policy, not be afraid of like y'all. Like, and I'm speaking to myself because I was like that too.
Yeah.
But I think once I got out of the mentality of once we moved down to Florida and I got out of that mentality,
Mm-hmm.
man, I was game for, so I was like, and I started meeting all different people and networking, and
Yeah.
and some of them was mainly us.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of us out there that's there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of us that ain't. But
Mm-hmm.
um, it was a breath of fresh air
Mm-hmm.
to come in with people who had ideas, who we didn't argue. We was like,
Right.
let's get it together.
Right.
That's where we was at. Now somebody that messed it up. Somebody had to mess it up. It wasn't. I will say it wasn't us.
Okay.
It was somebody who greed took over.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, 3 moments ago, you got your haters.
Mm-hmm.
Got integrity and you do what you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do, you still got that the one person like, I don't like how he move. I don't like how he
Mm-hmm.
move. They be mess up their stuff. And that's what happened. And greed came in. It was like, this was a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, we would hop on the call. We would just be rooting for each other.
Right. Right.
You had all different people with a different religious backgrounds and people,
Mm-hmm.
you still looking at them like they want a person.
Yeah.
Um, and that's, I think that's how that was another foundation for me and my
Mm-hmm.
husband because we were in it together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what happened to our, I was like, we gonna take over the world. Like that's the kind of
Yeah.
mentality.
You had them. Yeah.
I was so excited about us really just getting together. Like just, it didn't matter. It didn't matter
Mm-hmm.
what you practice. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
matter.
Mm-hmm.
We was just like, let's get it in.
Mm-hmm.
We put money up and investing money up for our kids and they
Mm-hmm.
kids. That's biblical.
Exactly. First thing you not do, you go buy this biggest house, biggest mansion, and all these cars, and
But
the next thing,
you don't own the land
yeah, no, mm-mm.
until you do the paperwork. But
Right.
you still renting. I'm
Hmm.
just saying. I'm just saying. We buying this stuff. I'm not saying real estate is bad. I ain't saying that.
Right.
What I'm
Right.
saying is that be knowledgeable of because they didn't flip some stuff around.
Hmm.
Don't leave it there.
Yeah, I think our goal is to leave a legacy,
Yeah.
leave a generational, so whatever our wealth or what we've gained, it can be passed on to our descendants. I mean, to our our children, children, and children's children, and children's children.
Mhm.
You know. Um,
Ultimately, the goal was never to for them to repeat the same stuff that we did wrong.
right. Right.
We don't need to keep doing that. No, we need
Right.
to teach you how to do the right stuff.
Right.
Like,
Right.
quiet as kept. Like I just let's be real. And yes, it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm reading the book of Proverbs right now, we quote scripture wrong about saying you don't work, you don't eat. But it also talks about a slack hand. It talks about slowfulness. It talks about
Mm-hmm.
being lazy.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Yep.
supposed we're supposed to work towards because ultimately at the end our prize is so much bigger than what we face on this earth.
Yeah.
Crazy. Like just reading the book of Proverbs right now got my mind blown. Like I guess I'm reading it in a different mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe last year I wasn't in the right mind, but like this
Mm-hmm.
year,
Mm-hmm.
like you gotta constantly be moving and
Yeah.
mm, you don't have time to be acting crazy.
No.
That's not getting us nowhere. It's not.
I mean, we see it all the time on social media. How the how where it's going, and it's not going anywhere. I mean, the the behaviors and some of the things that people are doing is just you know and again, we're being judged because of what what they are doing. Some of us,
They
we're
put us in the same box.
right,
Some
right.
people do. I won't say all, but
Yeah,
some.
yeah, yeah.
I saw that quite a bit in Florida. I've seen it here
Mm-hmm.
in Georgia, and it's like, and it's more of us than it is the other cultures from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some that are very highly successful. Um, put me in those rooms because let me learn from them.
Right.
I'm not sure. It's not about a getting, get quick rich or whatever.
Mm-mm.
It's not that. It's learning. You're learning. You're constantly learning. You're constantly growing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that if you spend your time fixated on things that don't matter
Right.
because
Right.
they don't. They won't
They
matter. And that's
matter.
why I
Yeah.
said, like try to look ahead. Like most business owners, these big companies, they start working on their next year's plan
Mm-hmm.
maybe midsummer. Some won't
Mm-hmm.
work a year ahead.
Yep. Yep. And a lot of us, we don't we can't even look beyond the following week. You know what I mean?
Some of us,
Because
yeah.
yeah.
Some of us, yeah.
Mm.
So this was a great conversation.
Yep.
Yeah, we really have to teach our kids the same things, um, so they can be great.
Mm-hmm.
When we're, if we're still here, great, we get to see it. If
Mm-hmm.
not, um, we're hoping that they can, launch into something great. So I want you to, our audience. I had a couple of questions because we touched on a few things, but one of the questions is, when did you first become aware of how others saw you? Excuse me. Um, have you ever felt pressure to change parts of yourself to fit into certain
Mm.
spaces?
Mm.
Um, where do you feel most able to be your full self and why?
Mm.
I know the answer to that question for sure. What messages about identity were passed down to you growing up? And then the last one is 5 questions, y'all. How can we help the next generation live more whole and less divided lives?
Those are great questions, and I'm anxious to hear feedback from people, comments. I mean, even if you have stories or whatever, we would love to hear it.
Mhm. We will actually put those questions into the comments so people can, because I know I read them pretty fast,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll make sure to have those questions in there so they can answer those.
All right, another great episode, episode 9, double consciousness, then and now. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, so we
Yes.
can bring content such as this to the forefront. And we just get the conversation going. We'd love to hear your answers, your feedback, and what type of topics that you would like for us to even talk about in the future.
Hmm. Yeah, we
Um,
gonna need them answers.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
But thanks again.
so yeah, we're not recording. I don't believe next weekend. I don't think. I know. Think I will be out of town on the 27th. Is it going to be the 27th? Yeah, I guess so.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
So,
we have one more episode to go, and we're
mhm.
going into season 3. So y'all stay tuned. Um, Definitely pour in your ideas and things that you would like for us to talk about. Now, when you do subscribe, um, we have to get up to a certain amount of subscribers in order for us to go live, because we love to go live and
Yeah.
answer questions, talk to you all, and just different and interact with you. So definitely subscribe to our channel, share it, share it, share it.
And again, share it. All right, you guys. You guys take care
All
and be
right.
safe.